Gilles, great to see you again, man. Welcome back to Popternative.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me again.
Of course, it's crazy whenever you get this opportunity to work on something that's like post-apocalyptic, these big kind of worlds and everything. When you get kind of this like opportunity or like the scripts for something like Storm Rider, like what is that mindset like specifically being kind of transformed, like going into a world like that? Like, do you think about kind of what it's going to look like? Like, how do you kind of dissect the script, so to speak?
Yeah, of course. I mean, luckily they sent me the script, but they also sent me a bunch of designs for the world and particularly the character. So I sort of knew what Taurus was going to look like right from the jump, and that was incredibly helpful. As soon as I saw the image of him, I thought, "Oh yeah, this is something I want to try and help bring to life." So yeah, the world is was built from the beginning, and they were very very specific with what it wanted to look like and what it felt like, and that was nothing but helpful for me and I think for everybody involved. We knew exactly what world we were in.
And what is that kind of, what's it like having those kind of conversations about everything, about the stories, about the effects, everything's going to look like with, the writers, directors, and everything? When do those conversations happen? Do they happen while kind of in production, afterwards?
They happen right from the beginning, like, and I think for me at least, you want to have all those conversations before you get to set. So when you're in set, you know exactly where you are, what you're doing. So Dom and Zoran were incredibly generous with their time because I joined a little later from everybody else, so the world had already been going for a little bit. So they were very welcoming and they answered all my endless questions. And then eventually, I didn't have any more questions, and then we sort of were off to the races. Yeah.
Absolutely. When you work on something like this and, Echo Boomers, you've done theater as well. Like it's all like different worlds, different characters, but at the end of the day, it's all storytelling. So I'm curious,
Yeah.
like how separate are past things you've done compared to something like Storm Rider? Like, do you bring mindsets or preparations from past roles to something like this, or are they completely separate once you wrap them?
That's a good question. I think every film or play tells you what it needs. I think, the way Echo Boomers was prepped is very different to Storm Rider. So every film presents what it needs. For example, Storm Rider was very challenging in terms of the whole makeup and outfit type of situation because it was like nothing I've ever done before. So sitting in a makeup chair 3 hours before set every day, that gives you something you haven't experienced before. So yeah, it was very different.
Was your first acting theater stage? Was that how you got started?
Um, oh gosh, a long time ago now.
I know it's been a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I
Okay,
think
and
it
you were
was.
doing like both, like in some TV and film at the same time too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was all sort of at the same time. Yeah.
Okay,
So
a lot of people look at theater as kind of that stepping stone where you really learn the craft.
sure, I can see that
Yeah,
absolutely. But film, there are so many techniques and real sort of things you need to know that you also need for the screen. So I think they both require technique. Absolutely, very different technique, but technique none all the same.
what is it like? The differences between working on something like Stranger Things: The First Shadow compared to something like Storm Rider, the live component. Like, does that change your mindset a little bit? Like you're doing it in front of like a live audience. Like, is that something that's like the biggest kind of drastic change between theater and TV and film?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I guess the main difference that comes to mind is in theater, you can't really stop.
Yeah.
You keep going. It's in one movement. So if something goes wrong, you keep going. Whereas in film, if something goes wrong, you can stop. But it's the same. I treat the camera as the audience. When it's revolving around, you know where it is. You make sure you can be seen. So for me, maybe it's sacrilege to say, but I think that it's not as different as some people say. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. And, it's cool that like now they have, productions like based on, big worlds and big franchises, right? Like, did you think that was going to happen a little bit? Like that there was going to be an opportunity to do like, you know, like a theater run on like something like based on like the biggest show on the planet? Like, you don't really think about those things, but it's pretty
You mean
crazy.
you mean Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Harry Potter, the play, really opened the gates to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember when that came through, I thought, oh, geez, I can't believe they're doing a play of it. But hey, it works. I think it's still going on in New York. It's still going on in London. So it definitely has The legs, for sure, yeah.
Whether you work on like a set one time or thousands of times, there's always going to be learning experiences. What were big kind of learning experiences from an acting storyteller perspective on Storm Rider that you're going to be able to take to future projects?
That's another good question.
That's why you came back on the show, man.
Yeah, I'm getting hit with all these very thoughtful questions. Yeah. I think oh man, I gotta think about that. It will probably be to do with the makeup. Yeah. I've never had to sit in a chair and had that applied for so long, and it really felt more than other characters that Taurus was a collaboration, because the design and Ivana's work, who did the makeup, it felt like our character, because she sort of made the way he looks and I sort of wore it. So it really felt like a beautiful dance between her work and my work. So that felt actually really wonderful to be able to work like that. And whereas if you don't have that extensive makeup, it's just sort of you. Yep. And so it was kind of refreshing to work with someone else's work literally on me, which was really fun.
Absolutely. Do you want to kind of go back to Echo Boomers quickly? Because I really love that film, but I remember when we did the interview, it was like the movie it didn't come out yet, so we didn't talk like super big spoilers. But so it's been out now for a while. But like, was it kind of cool to play someone where there was this like tug of war of whether he's the good guy or bad guy, like with something like that? Because that was an interesting kind of role with everything that kind of happened with that. But it's like I wasn't sure what was gonna go on with your character, and it was like, okay, he's cool, but he's like, ugh, like that's
I mean, that was one of the best parts of that role for me, was that he takes, you know, Patrick's character under his wing, but then also what he does at the end, the audience asks yourself, was he going to do that from the beginning? Was he always planning to do that? I have my answer, but I don't know if my answer will be the same as your answer. And so,
I think that was the plan. I think he's just a man with a plan. Yeah,
I happen to agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, my filmmaker hat asks you this question because since the last time we spoke, like I've made some films now, which is really cool.
Amazing! Congratulations.
No, thank you. And so we see, you can even answer this with Echo Boomers, but specifically Storm Rider. We'll see, and different actors will have different answers, right? But like we'll see a scene, 2-3 minute runtime, and then we go to the next scene, right? Mm-hmm. But I know that there's a chance that scene might have taken the whole day to film or a couple of days to film, even though we see 2 or 3. Yeah. When those big scenes happen, right, do they feel like their own mini movie or mini project, or do they overall feel part of Storm Rider?
So, another good question. Can you believe it? I think it all feels part of the same world and under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
Because, some of those scenes took several days. Some of them took 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Personally, I prefer when they take a while, because you can start to really sit in the scene, or when there's lots of different characters, because then you get to do it a bunch of times, and you really, the story deepens, the scene deepens. And that's when it emulates theater, because you're just repeating the scene, and it gets better, in my opinion, most of the time, the more you do it. But then sometimes we would do one shot and then boom, we'd be done. So I think you have to have a very zen, you just got to let it go once but again, in the movie, it looks like one continuous thing, but of course.
And I can't wait for people to check it out, Storm Rider. It's really cool. There's a lot kind of going on. These post-apocalyptic tales are really cool and are very, in the in right now. The people love watching a lot of that stuff, so I can't wait for people to check it out. Gil, it's so great catching up again, man. Thank you so much for your time. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.